There you go.
Okay, guys, we are opening the business meeting for the Zoning Board of Appeals for Tuesday, August 6, 2013. The Board of Appeals will conduct this meeting according to the rules laid out in Chapter 40A of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Robert's Rules of Order, and its own particular set of rules entitled Rules of Procedure, a copy of which is on file with the town clerk. Another copy is available from the clerk at this meeting. This meeting is being tape recorded for the purpose of taking minutes. Once the minutes are approved, the tape may be taped over. All right, folks. New business. Nomination for chairman. We have enough members to do that?
Well, one person can nominate someone and the person just has to accept. You don't even really need
Yeah.
to vote.
I'd like to nominate Paul Schillen to be chairman for another year.
I'd be happy to.
Second.
Thank you.
Do we want to
Second.
vote on that?
All
Yeah,
those
you
in
can vote
favor?
on
I
it.
think we should
Aye.
vote on that.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
We
I
actually made
guess
a
I don't have to
motion.
vote on myself.
More like aye.
Aye. That's fine.
Boom.
Okay.
The chocolate.
Second is, I believe all the members of the board have reviewed the minutes of May 7th and of June 4th, which is primarily Prospect Street, I believe. Is that right? Yes, it is.
It's Prospect,
Yep.
both of them from May, June, and then Thurlow, which I just emailed out a couple weeks ago.
Someone like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the May 7th and June 4, 2013 hearings.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Then we go on to the finance report, and it looks like we have some sort of new format here, Patty. What is that from? The town accountant or something?
Oh, that's the end of the year,
Okay.
the end of the fiscal year. That's the revolving account. That's what Munis looks like. That's the program
Oh, okay.
that like the school uses, and so it shows our debits and credits. And if you go to the second page, I have it circled,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and it says balances with the June phone bill, because the June phone bill always comes in July. So that 12/2/29/92, and then my spreadsheet's underneath. So that's what we're starting with for fiscal 14.
In the red, huh?
No, that's a,
That's a plus?
That's
That's
what's
a
the
credit.
revolving, actual
Credit.
balance of the revolving account. Okay, also in there is some revolving hours. Sharon. Please go ahead with business meeting, okay?
Yes, thank you,
Sharon.
Sharon.
yeah,
Okay.
will do.
Okay, she'll be a few more minutes. And then there's a deposit for 6474 East Main Street, which is right here. The Dunkin' Donuts Plaza,
Mm-hmm.
which will be 2 hearings. So it's a $600 commercial fee and a $450, so that's why it's $1,050. The next page is the Munis printout, so we start all over again with the expense line item for $860.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I'm gonna split up again. We used $363.84 in phone. We turned over $9.18 back to the town. So we have left.
Good job.
Hey, we gave something.
Hey, exactly.
How many boards can say that?
Good point. Very good point.
Gotta get our budget at least.
Monthly finance, updated correspondence. All right, so we got some
Correspondence.
denials here that people can look at
Yeah,
later.
the 18 tail, you can read that whenever. I haven't, I got a call from the gentleman and I returned the call, but I haven't heard back yet. The next one is the Dunkin' Donuts,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be, they're requesting multiple permits. They'll need a water resource. They have filed.
Are
Water
they
resource.
expected to have an engineer of some sort?
Oh, God, yeah, there's plans. They're right here.
All right, so they're all ready to go.
Yep,
They've got
September
everything-
3rd.
they've got
Legal
everything,
ads in,
okay.
remember we did the legal ad, we went
Yep,
back and
yep.
forth with that. So that's for
So they have
September.
this sort of like, okay,
It'll have to go, for example, they gotta go to,
Planning.
planning for the parking, cause they're increasing the parking. They're putting in a larger septic, if you're standing in front of the building, to the left.
Yep.
It's a grassy area, they're gonna put a septic there and have parking on top of the septic. Which you don't normally do, but it's, I don't know if it's a certain design or it's the size of it. If you have a certain size septic, you can park on it. They're, in front of conservation, which is the next page, there's a notice of intent. They met with conservation once, it was continued to 8/15, August 15th.
What,
Cause Pembroke is right behind
Oh,
there.
yeah,
That's why
certainly.
we didn't give them
Right.
the drive-through. Pembroke's right there.
so basically they were granted a handful of different special permits and they're now, changing them.
Yeah, it was a grocery store there way back when, in '62, and the decisions are all attached with the
Right,
application.
but we'll be the ones that ultimately decide on the water resource, whether they've got an appropriate plan for that and all that kind of stuff.
And that you might wanna, I mean, if conservation's, see what happens with conservation on the 15th. If they're still going on with conservation, you might wanna continue the water resource to see what happens with conservation. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep.
But the other, the regular special permit variance application, they wanna modify some of those old decisions to, because they're just, there's like 5 decisions with different hours
Right.
of operation,
Yep,
stuff like
yep.
that, and then the pylon sign.
Then the sign,
But
yep.
signs in non-compliance, and it has been, Quint sent out a letter of non-compliance in 2009, and they never fixed it, so. They're gonna kinda clean it up,
Okay,
okay?
Thank you.
The
Next
next
thing
thing
is
is the.
basically our new committee handbook.
And I hole punched that so you guys can put it in your binder. There is a page I stuck in there with an email from the town administrator. The selectmen have approved this new committee handbook. The handbook is for all boards and committees and contains information on how to hold a meeting, open meeting law, public records.
So we'll need to sign this document that goes
After
with
you
this.
read it, just maybe you can bring it to the next meeting.
Yeah, yep. You guys follow that?
Can we
I
sign it
whole
and give it
punched
to you now and promise to read it?
It's up to you.
I won't remember to bring it to the next meeting.
Okay,
The
remote,
next items,
yeah.
these were things that we talked about, that I didn't know if you wanna put in there for discussion, or you just wanted to hole punch and have the board. Participation.
it's just, yeah, you
It's
guys,
information.
That's in the hand- That's in the.
then in the same one?
That's in that handbook you just gave us.
Well, these are emails specific to, questions that, disclosure information and forms, disclosure works different now, the selectmen have to approve it.
Yep,
If you want
Oh.
to, if you have a financial interest or you're on the abutters list, and
Oh, that's in here.
you don't recuse yourself, it's information on the disclosure form that the board of selectmen have to allow you to sit at the hearing, so they have to vote. So these are a little different. So I hole punched these two, they're all from town council.
thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
then-
okay, Paul Schillen, disclosure, okay, that's, right, that's if I didn't wanna recuse myself, this form.
Oh, that one.
Right, if you wanted to sit on it, so now if
Yep,
someone does wanna sit on something.
I am gonna
that-
hold on to that one too.
So it would have to be done, pretty much when when say someone's, who's abutting this, who's on Duncan, Sharon's gonna be recused from this, from Duncan. So if she wanted to sit on it and wants to do a disclosure form, it has to be submitted before the selectmen's meeting the month before.
Yep.
So they have to approve it now.
And it has to be before the meeting, we can't get it
It has to be at a selectmen's meeting, so
Okay.
if but Sharon said she's recusing herself from that.
But you're allowed to sit in and participate as a private citizen if you wish.
Right, if you read that,
Clear on that.
you got that last part of that email? I mean, the email goes on, that's the end of the email. The questions go on for a little bit with, I was going back and forth with Jonathan Eichman from Copeland page. You just have to state why you're recusing yourself. The first paragraph there.
Right. But it doesn't preclude you from sitting as an audience member
No, you have to
and
expressly-
participating as a private citizen if you wish.
You have to, you just have to state that you're not a board member and you're participating as a citizen.
Right.
I can't take them back.
Where did
Keep
I
them
go?
down there.
Well,
Coconut
you're
minutes.
about to find out.
Oh, I can't, no. I'm good, thank you anyway.
Keep it right here. This other one from Eichmann.
Yep.
As long as a substantial use is made of a special permit within the time specified by the zoning bylaw, not more than 2 years following issuance, regardless of when or if the special permit is recorded, the special permit does not lapse. That's,
That's strange.
well,
As long as the use is commenced, that's for a special permit, a
Yep.
variance would be different.
right, okay.
So as long as the use started within 2 years, just like the special permit, it lapses in 2 years.
Can you bring this up during the hearing, please, to these guys? Because we don't need to
Oh,
discuss
this
that right
had to
now.
do with filing the permit.
Yeah, it was filing an old
That's right. I
decision
couldn't
that was
remember
never,
what
they
started
never
this whole
recorded
thing.
it.
Has to do with
Yeah,
recording it, yeah.
Yep.
so,
That was that house that we looked at.
All right,
okay.
now we're in
Old business?
old business.
Okay, hold on, let me get Sharon's time here. Arrived at
I might have made that up.
I know what was it for.
I don't remember.
20, sorry, I didn't see your text until I went to text you.
Opposite. I can't remember what they're for, but I remember the directive.
Okay. There's in your agenda that we just went through, there's a thing called a committee handbook.
Okay.
I just need you to, it's hole punched, to put in your binder, as well as the other 3 town council things, so, and there's a page in there that needs to be signed and turned into the Board of Selectmen. Okay.
Freezing here. Feels good. On that,
Okay.
there's a office and then there's the name of public body,
Which were you looking at?
the certificate of receipt of open meeting law.
The committee handbook?
Yeah,
Yeah, the thing that you sign, she's just confused, because at the top it says office.
I qualified
Which
for
is
the
zoning board.
office of zoning board
Let me look at
At
Dave's.
the bottom it says name of public
I don't know.
body.
body, which is, I assume, ZBA.
I, Gina Tebow, who qualified for the office of,
Now look at the bottom. Zoning
Name
board.
of public body
and
is
public
what?
body
Is
zoning board of appeals,
Alright,
and I would put I, Gina, who qualified for the office of
regular member.
regular member, ZBA regular member maybe.
That's what it's gonna be.
On,
Can you look that up?
I can find out when you were appointed. That would have been you today, right?
What?
Your appointment date would be today.
Okay.
Your reappointment date was today?
Was it? I don't know.
No, his reappointment date was,
can you pass
No,
that
you
one?
had to be sworn in, I mean.
yeah, but the appointment date is the appointment date.
You're all set, right?
How long am I on for chairman, by the way? 2 more years?
No, it's only one.
Oh,
Well, It's
one.
only been,
And
I
then
know it
that's
seems
it.
like 2, but
One.
it's only been one.
Then that's it, right? I can't do it anymore after that?
Well,
Do you wanna,
can't
do
it
you wanna
success-
do yours,
success-
Joe?
Successively anymore.
Can I do 2 in a row?
Might as well.
Let's have Gina's
Take a
look
year
like.
off.
Are we,
Then hit it hard again later.
So you guys
Okay.
can just keep flip-flopping.
the
Pass it on.
The old business is the applications, but I know Jeff, you've been traveling, I
I
don't know.
know, yeah, I keep telling you.
wanna
I'm gonna
put-
be-
We can pass that. We can
Pass
just,
those
We keep
over?
passing, but I
I think in September when
commit to really
things
start
settle
looking at
down.
this. I've been
Yeah.
gone more than I've been home, so.
And then, let's pass these out.
This is a school year.
This is the-
Oh, is
That's
this
yours.
the
Take one and pass it down.
That was last
Paul.
week.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Oh my God,
Good.
it's like, really going on.
There's only one hearing next week, next month? But it's a big one?
Yes, it's gonna be and there's gonna be a good amount of butters, I believe. Chris?
Can I close the business meeting before we do that?
Oh, yeah,
Because then we don't
Yeah.
have to open it again after the second
okay,
hearing.
close.
I move to close the business meeting for date today?
Second?
August 6th, sorry, 2013.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Right.
You're doing that, I get one other person.
We're on. You know,
Hopefully it won't be an issue.
Right.
Okay, we are opening the hearing for Janice Derby of 24 Pillsbury Lane, a request for a special permit. I'm going to go ahead and read our rules of procedure. The Board of Appeals will conduct this meeting according to the rules laid out in Chapter 40A of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Robert's Rule of Order, and its own particular set of rules entitled Rules of Procedure, a copy of which is on file with the town clerk. Another copy is available from the clerk at this meeting. This meeting is being tape recorded for the purpose of taking minutes. Once the minutes are approved, the tape may be taped over. I'd like to introduce the members of the board. First off,
want to read the legal ad first?
sure. Gina, you want to do that? Are you?
Thank you.
An application has been made by Janice and Jeremy Derby of 24 Pillsbury Lane, Georgetown, Mass. 01833 in the RB district and identified on Assessor's Map 11, Lot 230. The applicant requests a special permit under MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, and the Georgetown zoning bylaws, Chapter 165, Section 9, 10.1, 78, and 79, to place an above-ground pool 50% closer to the side lot line than allowed in RB zone. Chapter 165, Section 10.1 allows side and rear setback reductions by 50% for accessory structures.
Thank you very much. The members of the board tonight are Sharon Freeman, Gina Tebow, Jeff Moore, I'm Paul Schillen, and this is Dave Kapnis. First off, would you like to recuse yourself at this point?
Yes, I will need to recuse myself from participating in this hearing. I have a personal and financial interest in the people who own the property.
Okay, thank you.
Can we call you by cell phone? Dave,
Are
you
you
gonna,
ready?
you staying here?
I'm just gonna hang.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go downstairs.
All right, we'll
Okay.
call you when we.
Do you have your phone
My
with
cell's
you?
in the truck.
Okay.
Okay, why don't you let us know what you're going to do? We've obviously reviewed this, but go ahead and give us your
Okay, yeah.
presentation.
I apologize, I didn't bring the big plot plan because I used it at the Conservation Commission because my property has conservation land, probably like a lot of other people's. So I'll just walk you through what we're proposing here. And do you need to look at it?
They have a copy of the.
We
Yeah,
all
yeah,
have
we have
copies.
copies.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
All right, so, you know, we basically want to put in a deck that's about 22 by 10 feet adjacent to the south side of our property. And right adjacent to that deck, we wanted to put in an 18-foot diameter pool. And although our property is larger, you know, based on this pie shape, the usable kind of footprint of it, because there is conservation land behind, is pretty much stops at the shed area. So we really do have a kind of a limited area to put this, and actually from the shed area is when you have a downward slope into that drain easement. So we're very limited in where we want to put the deck and the pool. So we selected what we feel is kind of going to be the most aesthetically pleasing and kind of safe location to put the pool, which will make the one structure that's the pool 10 feet off the property line of our neighbor, which I believe fits in with the guidelines. And the other structure, which is the deck, is going to be about, 20 feet off the property line, the very tip of the deck. So we're asking to be granted the special permit to allow this construction.
Oh, I'm sorry, there was some new correspondence.
Okay, you're fine. She can finish and then I'll do that's fine.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's basically it in a nutshell.
okay.
There is conservation land basically on the, I guess what would this be? On the northwest side of the house, so in between the shed and the existing foundation, and then all over to the north side is conservation. So we're just limited, and we're hoping that this is not an issue, because we're thinking it is allowed by the guidelines, so we figured we'd apply.
Thank you very much. What is the new correspondence, Patty?
Actually, I mean, it's just an email from Steve Pajumski, the conservation agent.
Yep.
I asked him if they got approval for their notice of intent for the pool for Pillsbury, and, he said they did get approval at the last conservation meeting, that was dated July 24th. So they did, finish up with conservation, and it was approved.
Okay, good. Is there any from the audience that, no, obviously you're with a different hearing, right? Okay.
Can we just mark that plan as an exhibit, please?
Exhibit
A?
I would like to just ask one question. Is there a reason why you couldn't, put it almost off the tip of the triangle behind your house?
Yeah, there's actually, there's a
Want this, Patty?
fence, there's actually a fence right behind the shed, and there's a fence on the south side. We didn't wanna put it there for a couple reasons. One is there's a lot of trees that can't be cut. We think they're gonna just kind of shed a lot of stuff into the pool, could probably rip the liner. It also, we thought it would be a lot nicer aesthetically for access to have a deck adjacent right from the house, as opposed to walking out and then just climbing up a ladder into the pool. But I don't, I also felt more comfortable having the pool off the property, because there's a hill there. There's actually a rock wall there, and there's a hill, and I just didn't want kids maybe, jumping into it from the hill in the pool. I don't know if that would ever happen, but I thought it would be safer to kind of have it off the wall, off the south property, just for a safety standpoint.
I when I took a look at it, I felt that it seemed to be the more obvious location, just because there is a retaining wall back there, and it starts to go uphill. Does it go up and then go back down again in order to create a wetland? I don't.
Oh, yeah, it does go up, and then there's that intermittent stream hooks back
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah.
So it's kind of like, I felt like it was accessible if maybe there were teenagers who wanted to jump in it at night.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I used to do that.
It's just like, does that still happen?
Maybe I'm dating myself.
Okay, I just
Yeah,
was
yeah, we
curious.
thought about that, but,
Okay.
Is the deck is gonna be 20 feet, right?
yeah, these are approximate, but these are pretty much the limits here.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, well, the reason I ask is that the deck needs to be conforming unless we're specifically providing relief for the deck. So I think what we were providing, we're probably,
The deck, John said the deck met the setback, so. it
right,
was-
so we're, according to what was published, we're providing relief for the pool, not for the deck.
Right.
And I don't think we can necessarily change that tonight, so your deck has got to be 20 feet.
Oh.
If everything else is granted tonight, the setback requirements for the RA zone is.
Oh, yes,
in
oh,
your
we
zone is
understand.
20
You're
feet.
talking about the
So I know
setback.
this is approximate,
Yes.
but you can't,
I
in other words, we
understand.
can give you relief for the pool, but because
Yeah.
what you're applying for.
I thought you meant the
doesn't include
dimensions of the
Yeah,
deck.
no, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I totally understand. The only
Setback has
thing-
gotta be
yeah,
minimum
yeah,
20 feet.
yeah.
And John will be the one to inspect
Yeah.
that when it's done.
Sure,
So,
okay,
just to be clear on.
yeah,
And the pool can be 10, it can probably be greater than that, if that's what it ends up being, but it can't be.
As far as the
It would not be
setback is
less, as
concerned.
far as the setback goes.
okay,
So he will be doing an as-built, or he may require you to have an as-built done.
Okay.
When it would be completed,
okay,
if this is granted. And so you just wanna make sure that you're meeting those setback
Sure.
requirements, because that's what you're seeking relief for. is a
right, right,
setback
it is the
requirement.
pool, right.
Okay, just wanna make sure. And the shed, is the shed existing?
Yeah,
Okay.
I will say, I did talk to my neighbor too, because he called me about the Conservation Commission. He said he's on board with this, if that matters at all.
I'm assuming because he would be here right now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's nice because you've got that existing arborvitae hedge on the
Yeah,
left
right.
side, which seems like a nice private spot. Pretty much the only usable area you have that's sort of private.
Yeah,
The backyard's not really that big, so
yeah.
yeah, it's a good spot.
You need the bylaw section? Sorry.
Any other questions, anybody? You gonna
I
look
think
into
it's,
it?
she's working on a potential motion, I think, so we just wanna make sure
I
that
gave
reference the
Continental
correct.
a call.
Oh, oh, good, okay.
I
did
worked
she
that up,
want?
right, just worked that up myself.
Okay, well,
just
that's
now.
all right.
And you can add whatever you wanna add.
So
That's
you
just
take your time to
general.
read through that and make sure
Yeah.
you wanna monkey with it all. But while she's doing that, I just wanna clarify something about voting. under the zoning manual, Patty.
Okay,
The vote requirements relating to special permits and variances are, relate to the number of members of a board established by the statute or municipal bylaw, not how many are actually here. The resignation or if somebody recuses himself, if one member of a 5-member board does not transform into a 4-member board for this purpose of voting. So
Could be 3 out
it's a
of 4.
5-member board, we happen to only have 4, you still need 4 of a 5-member board,
Oh.
and 1 member's not here. It's not, we're no longer, we're not a 4-member board, we're a 5-member board. If we happen to have an alternate who's
Then
gonna
we'd
sit
be
in
a
and
6-member board.
act as a voting member, we would then have all 5 members of a 5-member board here, but we don't. So this is a
Interesting.
5-member board, we have to have a vote of 4, okay? Does that clarify that?
Yes.
Does that clarify, what he's suggesting is we are actually a 5-member board, and because
Exactly
somebody's
what I was
recused
writing.
themselves, we
What?
still are required a
Writing.
4 yes vote for you to get your special permit.
This needs to be unanimous, so.
Needs to be unanimous, and as is, it seems to be this board tends to give you an idea. If we have some really tough questions or something, or we try to give the applicant an idea where the board might be going, only in the fact that you can, we can either continue the hearing, but we don't have any other members of the board, so that wouldn't help in the case you felt that you weren't gonna get 4 members voting on this positively for you. But you can also withdraw without prejudice, which means you can reapply at some other time if there happens to be more board members. So basically what we're saying is we need more board members. You know, I'm saying that on television because it's hard when there's only 5 members, and if somebody needs to recuse himself or can't make it to a meeting, it almost suggests a majority vote on that. So just so you know. So I think that if the members have other questions, you'll understand perfectly, you know, how the board generally feels about this. Is that,
Yeah.
yeah. Any other questions?
Typically, we have alternate members of the board, who, if somebody has to step aside, we have 5 regular members, and there would be up to 2 alternates, or 3, Patty, 2, right?
we have 3
3
associate members.
associates, excuse me.
Associate member openings.
And they would step in and be a voting member in the case like this, but we have 3
It's
open
usually
spots
8.
for associate
And
members.
it's so exciting. You should tell all your friends. Join the ZBA. We really are. I mean, I don't know how many other boards have this problem, but it's hard to.
There's a bunch now.
Yeah.
It's changed.
So. Any other questions?
What were we working on? Oh, you were working on it.
Yeah,
On a motion.
it was what I was writing, so
Did I have any other questions? on this?
minus some chapters.
So I guess the only question I would have before we get any further, so there's some screening on the left side, sort of behind the pool.
Yes,
Is there some natural
correct.
screening there? Is
In
that on
fact,
your property, or is that on the neighbor's property?
It's on the neighbor's property.
These are trees and.
Arborvitae, evergreen hedge.
Okay.
And in fact, it's kind of nice that your neighbor's house is sort of forward of yours. So they're not side by side. One's a little bit more forward than the other one. So it really doesn't seem to be any sort of conflict in that way.
Where I was going with that is that the only real concern that I ever have with these things where you're getting a little bit of relief is to protect the privacy of your neighbor. And to the extent there's screening there, I'd like to see them maintain that, but if it's not yours, that's up to your neighbor to maintain. I guess if there's no screening on your property, vegetation screening or what have you, then there's nothing for her to maintain. It can't be the responsibility of the neighbor to
Yeah,
maintain
there
that
is,
screen. So,
that's right.
I mean, I don't know, I unfortunately didn't get a chance to stop by, but if there's some trees or something that's sort of screening this whole
Yeah,
project from your
it-
neighbor
it's
on
pretty
your
much screened.
property.
Yeah, not on ours, it's
I
on
would
theirs.
like to see,
Yeah.
what we can do is we can put a condition there, for example, and say, any natural screening to be maintained, something like that. In other words, don't put the pool and then cut down all the hedges for whatever
Right.
reason.
But since it's
Mhm.
not theirs, I can't.
Um,
But
so
I
anyway.
think they'd be, if something were to happen on Arborvitae hedge, you'd be likely to put something up pretty quickly anyways. For screening purposes.
Yeah.
Because even though they're forward of you, they are a little bit higher than you. They kind of look down a little
The
bit.
neighbor?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. I mean, it is a situation where their house is ahead of ours and the area that they would hang in their backyard is actually, like all this property, there's a small bit of space, and then there's a big hill. So they don't really go up on the hill where they would see
Right,
us very
right,
much, which is
right.
why the trees are where they're located.
Yeah, it's a nice little niche in there. It's not, I think it's a good idea to put it there.
Odd-shaped lot, it's good that it's worked out.
Yeah.
It's like 4 pie-shaped lots in there. Okay, well, that was my only question. If, you know, like I said, if there was some screening to be maintained, I'd like to see it maintained.
I think if you'd like to make a
Anything else?
motion, absolutely.
I'd like to make a motion to grant a special permit to Janice McIntosh Derby and Jeremy J. Derby of 24 Pillsbury Lane, Georgetown, Mass. 01833 in the RB district and identified on Assessor's Map 11, Lot 230, under MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, and the Georgetown zoning bylaws, Chapter 165, Sections 9, 10.1, 78, and 79, to place a pool 10 feet from the side lot line, south side of the property, 50% closer than allowed in the RB zone per Georgetown zoning bylaw, Chapter 165, Section 10.1, which allows the ZBA to reduce the setback by 50% for accessory buildings, as shown on plot plan drawn by hand and marked as Exhibit A, dated September 16, 2002, and stamped for this application by the town clerk, June 10th, 2013. Board, excuse me, the board further found that the application met zoning bylaw, Chapter 165 through 79, A through D. The application is desirable to the public convenience or welfare, will not overload any public water or other municipal services so as to unduly subject any areas to hazards affecting health, safety, or general welfare, will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining districts, and will not cause an excess of that particular use which could be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood.
Someone like to second that?
I'll second
Further discussion?
Yeah, is this is Exhibit A?
Yeah.
I assume?
Yes,
you
and
have a
Paul
copy of
marked
that?
it, and I have it right
Got
here.
it, okay. Just wanted to make sure we're looking at the same thing. Yep, that's it.
No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gotta notify her.
Do you
Oh,
need
yes, I'd like to also notify the applicant of a 20-day appeal period during following 14 days. Clerk has to file a written decision with the town clerk. A person who exercises rights under an appealed special permit variance does so at risk. I'd like to make a motion to, no, someone needs to make a motion to close this hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Great, you're all
Okay,
set.
thank you,
very much.
appreciate
Start
it.
construction until the appeal period's over.
Yeah.
Well, what will happen is we'll write the decision. They'll have to sign it within 14 days, and then I'll notify you with instructions.
Okay,
Yeah, of
Okay, so I
course.
just wait to
Yeah, I
hear
get
from
one
you.
every
Wait to
time.
hear from
Okay,
me.
and
so
you don't
it'll
need this
be
anymore?
14
Yeah.
days.
What is
the,
it?
it was the
Um,
exhibit that was
This one.
hanging there, I don't know if
Yeah,
it's-
no, that's an extra copy.
Okay, okay,
No,
great.
just this one by
Okay? All right,
itself.
take care.
Yeah, thanks.
You guys like to take a 5-minute?
No,
Okay.
unless you want to.
This one, this one?
Yeah, there you go.
And
Yes.
I know, I will, don't worry.
hold on one sec. Come on up, Lisa.
So, I'm sorry, was there a motion on there, or no?
Mm-mm.
Started
No, she can have that back.
with, I can never spell that word.
I'll open the hearing.
No, I'm just looking for this.
We're not
Oh,
gonna,
it's
we're
fine.
not
Do you want me
taking a
to
break, correct?
Yeah, yeah, you would go through the whole
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, I gotta open the
Same
hearing.
thing.
No, we're going on to the next one.
She didn't give me anything else, it was only one piece of paper.
Patty, do you have one of these for the next one?
Yes. Oh, here's all the, hold on. Okay,
Thanks.
that's at the end. It was, Jeff might need this.
I will open the hearing, I can do that.
Yes. you
Okay,
have to.
yeah, yeah.
I have to ask for a special, I don't have to do this. When I asked you, you just explained.
Okay, folks, we're gonna open the hearing for 144 East Main Street for the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Board of Appeals will conduct this meeting according to the rules laid out in Chapter 40A of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, of Robert's Rules of Order, and its own particular set of rules entitled Rules of Procedure, copy of which is on file with the town clerk. Another copy is available from the clerk at this meeting. This meeting is being tape recorded for the purpose of taking minutes. Once the minutes are approved, the tape may be taped over. Yes, legal ad? Yeah, you got one? Thank you.
For the hearing dated August 6, 2013, immediately following the first hearing at 7:30, an application has been made by Yusuf Ben and Lisa Besnod, is that right?
Bassoud.
Bassoud, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Of 144 East Main Street, Georgetown, Mass. For a special permit under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Georgetown zoning bylaws, Chapters 165, Sections 9, 78, and 79. The owners applicants are requesting to convert a single-family dwelling and carriage house that is previous zoning decision, a ZBA file 01-01, that allowed an accessory apartment to a multifamily, two-family dwelling. The premises affected is 144 East Main Street, Georgetown, Mass. In the RA district, and identified on the assessor's map 10, Lot 1. The Georgetown record 7/11 and 7/18/2013.
Thank you, Jeff. The members of the board are Sharon Freeman, Gina Tebow, Jeff Moore, I'm Paul Schillen, and this is Dave Kapnis. And at this point, I need to also recuse myself from this hearing because I'm a next-door neighbor. So apparently there's some issues there. So, and just to remind you again, you then realize that you need 4 members, right? So, good luck.
I let her know
Thank you. Yeah.
beforehand, because
All right. So I'm Jeff Moore. I'll be the acting chairman for this hearing. So the first thing I'd like to do is introduce the members of the board that will be voting. This is Sharon Freeman and Gina Tebow and Dave Kapnis and myself, Jeff Moore. So why don't we start with the applicant, with your presentation. You can just tell us what's going on, and
Okay.
then we can, there's some correspondence that we need to read, so we'll do that after, and then we'll go from there, okay?
Okay.
So why don't you tell us what's going
Well,
on?
we currently have our main house and then a separate dwelling that's a carriage house that we had applied for an in-law back in 2001, I think it was, and that was granted. And my understanding is that we're not allowed to rent that out without a special permit. So that's what we're here to do, is to convert it to a two-family, which I understand is how you can do that, because we no longer have parents that are living. It's no longer needed for that use.
Okay,
There's, the structure itself is complete, there's no changes that are to be made to it. It exists. I don't know what else to say.
all right. We have some new correspondence.
yeah, we have a previous hearing on this file. Here is file 0101. So it was, the decision is attached to our application. And it was.
I have. That's right. You had a packet here with some new correspondence, but I think it was also included in her.
It's
Under
like,
the legal
yeah,
notice, Jeff?
it's in the application.
Yeah. So we want to read, let's see. Both from John McKeever, those, the two that you're talking about?
Yeah, well, whatever
That one from
correspondence
May
is there,
15.
and then there's an older correspondence
April
Right.
29.
that was, that John gave me from the building file. That I didn't, he had, which.
The one from the zoning
Zoning
board.
board, yeah.
You're talking about the zoning board, all
Yeah,
right.
he had it in his, he gave it to me.
Okay, so I have 4 pieces of correspondence. One is the, dated May 15th from John. One dated April 29th, 2013, from John.
And the
The
second
first
from
being the
Debbie.
denial, the second being the violation notice. There's a May 2nd correspondence from Deb Rogers, Patty, right?
Yeah, from Board of Health.
You gotta read that one. And then there was
Yeah.
the original ZBA correspondence dated July 31st, 2002. So why don't we read, I don't think we need to read the denial into the record.
Okay.
Is that,
No, it's
that's
part of the
considered- That's part of the, yeah.
application.
Why don't we read the April 29th, 2013 correspondence, and, do you have that? You wanna do that? Thanks.
How'd you say it again?
It's Lisa Basoud.
Basoud. Okay, so it's dated April 29, 2013, regarding 144 East Main Street, map 10, lot 1 violation notice. Dear Mr. Basoud, this office was recently informed that you are renting the carriage house to a non-family member as a residential dwelling unit. The accessory apartment approved under a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals restricts occupancy of the apartment to family members only. You are hereby ordered to stop renting and vacate the carriage house as a separate dwelling unit. You must respond to this violation notice within 15 days of receipt. Failure to comply with this notice shall result in a fine of up to $300 per day and court action. Anyone aggrieved by the building inspector's interpretation of the zoning bylaw, or in the case of a zoning board of appeals special permit, has the right to appeal this decision to the zoning board of appeals within 30 days of receiving this notice. John Mativier, Town of Georgetown Building Commissioner, Zoning Enforcement Officer.
Thank you. There's another bit of correspondence from Deb Rogers, the health agent for the town. You wanna keep right on rolling there?
Oh, okay.
You mind?
It's an email. It's from Deb Rogers, dated Thursday, May 2nd, 2013, to Patty Patari regarding 144 East Main Street. Hello, Patty. I wanted to give you a quick update on 144 East Main Street. The occupant of the dwelling requested a full inspection of the carriage house. Ginger inspected the dwelling on Monday, April 29th. There was no violations found in accordance with the Mass Housing Code. I understand that the homeowners will need to apply for a special permit through the ZBA to make it a legal two-family. They replaced their septic system to fully accommodate the additional flow to the septic system back in 2001. In 2005, Ginger inspected the apartment prior to rental. They probably should have applied for a two-family rather than an in-law accessory apartment. Please let me know if you need any further information from the Board of Health. Thank you, Deb. Signed, Deborah Rogers, RS Director, Health Agent, Georgetown Board of Health.
Thank you, Sharon, appreciate it. And lastly, this is an old correspondence, but relates directly to this case. Hang on. Okay, that was the denial. Dated July 31st, 2002.
Yep, is that this one, Jeff?
Yes.
Mr. Yusuf Basad, 144 East Main Street, Georgetown, Mass. Dear Mr. Basad, it has come to our attention that contrary to the condition imposed by this board when granting you the special permit for an in-law apartment, copy of decision enclosed, you are offering the property for rent. See attached advertisement. There is a copy attached. While we do not know the circumstances that have prevented your relatives from occupying the in-law apartment, we suggest that you review the zoning bylaw and, if necessary, consult legal counsel concerning what permits or variances you will need if your in-law or other family relation are unable to occupy same. While this board is not the enforcement authority, I am copying Mr. Brett with this letter and request that he enforce our decision, Mr. Brett being the current building inspector. Very truly yours, Steve Epstein, Chairman, Zoning Board of Appeals.
Thank you. Okay, I don't think there's any other correspondence that's relative. Does that
You
sound
have the
right,
Board of
Patty?
Health and, no.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Is it necessary to read the ad?
I don't think so. That's 10 years now. 12 years old.
There's no objection, that it was there.
Yeah. And I don't see any audience tonight unless you are eligible to speak if you so choose, Paul, as long as you do so as an audience member. We can get back to that later. So, questions? Oh, we've got some history here, so maybe.
Is the carriage house currently occupied?
No.
And when did the occupancy stop?
After we received the letter, we gave notice to the tenants, and they have since vacated.
when you were granted the special permit for an accessory apartment, who was occupying it then?
Nobody was occupying it at that time. My mother was in Sweden, and it was expected that she would be moving back to this country with her husband. Unfortunately, at that time, immigration, her husband is Swedish, was Swedish, and they would not allow, because of the age, for him to come into this country, in spite of the fact that they were married.
So it actually was never occupied by a family member,
Not at that time, no.
or any time?
At any time, no.
Okay. And when did you decide to rent it?
Well, we thought about renting it out. Early on, we were told no. And since then, we've had family members, children and what have you, move out, and it's sitting there empty completely.
So it's never been rented out, or?
It was rented out for a very short period of time.
And when was that?
That was a couple years ago. It was never, I don't know. Yeah, what is it? But I didn't realize that I had totally forgotten about that in the back.
How did,
But I have come now to ask to make it legal.
how did this first come to light,
This
that,
first,
that it was being rented?
the people that were renting it, he claimed that he was having difficulty breathing and has had an exacerbation of some asthma. And so he simply called the health department, and that's how it came to light.
Oh, regarding conditions in the, he complained
Correct.
regarding some conditions in the.
Correct.
That was, I'm confused on the timing.
And
That was
that-
in 2013?
That's when Deb responded.
I see, that's
and-
what prompted the Board of Health. Okay.
Right.
What was the carriage house back in 2001? Did you
It was
build it back
a
then?
literally, no, my understanding is that that dwelling was actually a 3-story mansion. It was huge. I have a photograph
Okay.
of the two, and it makes my 3,300 square foot house look tiny. My understanding is that it burnt down so long ago that the town doesn't have record of it. And then at some point after that, I don't know, was built as a carriage house. It had dirt floors, no walls inside,
1930.
Okay.
limited
So,
electricity, no water.
so you rehabbed it for your mother?
That was the intent originally, yes.
Okay.
After, excuse me, after receiving the special permit for the in-law.
Yes.
It looks to me like the decision, not to hold you.
No, that's, I just
wanna
wanted to
make sure I
understand it.
Decision didn't commence now.
As a result of the decision that was filed back in March 28th of 2001, you commenced construction to
construction,
rebuild it
correct.
as an in-law.
Correct,
A separate dwelling, okay.
correct.
Sorry, keep going.
No, that's all, I just wanted to know why it's finished today, that's all. And it was because of the original decision.
And before that, it was basically a barn, essentially.
Pretty
It was
much.
a carriage house, but it was
Yes.
not a livable
No,
dwelling. It was,
no.
okay.
No, there was one light bulb. That was the extent of anything in there.
It was basically for storage, or I see something on there that's a workshop, was that?
I see
It-
garage and shop, and up
Oh,
here it shows camp.
That's 1930.
So they're actually,
It was a barn.
There is
It was a,
attached to
Iron horse.
the main rectangle of the carriage house, there extends a section off the back, which, if you go down some steps, it houses the utilities of the carriage house, as well as a workshop. And then above that is just a, like, attic space, but it's level. And I guess he kept chickens in there at one point.
This is a very chicken-friendly board.
This is true.
That's true. I meant to bring an extra egg carton and I forgot.
Wait.
Well, that's next.
So, who, do you have an occupant? You had an occupant that was renting up until you got a,
Right, a cease and
Cease and
desist,
desist.
yeah. And no, we do not have an occupant
you
at
do
this
not
time.
have an occupant now. Do you
Correct.
have someone in mind that you?
No,
you-
I don't.
So you're gonna.
my
your
3
idea would be
children
to-
have gone off, and it's just my husband and I at home.
The request to the Board of Health regarding some conditions, can you just elaborate that there's no issue there from a health standpoint?
There's absolutely no issue.
Okay.
There was nothing found except for a mouse dropping. One. But according to Deb, and I can tell you it's in pristine condition.
Were they complaining about rodents or something?
He was having difficulty breathing, so he decided that it was something in the building causing a problem. Unfortunately, he did not ask us about it at all.
So this is clearly just a one-bedroom.
Yes, it's a loft.
Your intent would be to rent it to,
Hopefully a single person or a couple, preferably single. I don't think I'm allowed to rent it to anybody with children, as it's only a 1-bedroom.
the other concern I have has to do with the bylaw, Patty, and that has to do with more than one dwelling on a lot.
Right.
You never specifically got, nor did you advertise for a special permit for more than one.
I think, John, because it was a pre-existing, it was there since 1930. So it's
Well,
pre-
Can I see that?
Yeah, I mean, and
This is
she
an
was
old,
given
an
permission.
old state record.
The footprint of the
Previously.
building never changed.
I think you just went up with the loft. You went up, you didn't go out.
We just put a dormer on.
Yeah.
That's all we did.
But it was never a habitable space, correct?
At one point, way back, it was a home.
I can't read this.
So there were two homes on the same.
There were 2 homes on that lot. But again, the town doesn't have record of when that burnt. That's what I was told. It must have burnt to the ground. It's no longer there.
Just see the first page for me.
That's correct.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is,
Did this come up, Patty? You guys are-
Yes.
Did this issue come up in discussion during the application process with John as far as
With the more
separate
than one
dwell-
building?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he got that from Jay. And he said
Determined
it
that
was
it
there.
was existing non-conforming
Right,
use. Not the
right.
structure, but the use would have to be existing non-conforming. You can have more than one structure on a lot, you can't have more than one dwelling on a lot.
Right.
And
He
so
just
he's
said
saying
that, he's just saying that as far as the building being there, it was fine because it predated zoning.
Well, they've also granted,
Yeah, the special
by virtue
permit.
of the special permit she was already granted, they essentially gave her
It's
permission to
okay.
To convert,
a separate building to
Right.
a
Dwelling.
dwelling.
so now.
Under the auspices of an in-law, however, which is
Right.
something else, but I'm just trying to get comfortable with the fact.
And we got
that
and
whereas-
that decision was not recorded, so I got town council's opinion on that because weren't sure what to do with that. So you have that in your,
Mhm.
whereas the.
in your business file. with
That's
it.
right, we looked at that earlier.
Alright.
Where the use was never,
That
it
was
was never
true.
utilized it had 2 years to be utilized. After being granted a special permit for an in-law apartment, it was never utilized for that. Therefore, that would make that lapsed, if I understand it correctly.
That's probably true. Yeah, good point. But she hasn't been using it ananyway, but it was
Well,
granted.
no, but it was granted and
Recorded
they,
it.
They never
so
recorded it and they never used
she
it.
didn't move in there, but they did it, so isn't that part of the use? They did the finishes and converted it.
Started construction on it, that's for sure.
Well, they finished. They started and
You
finished.
guys are with it, you guys are on top.
Does it
So
say,
I think
does it
that
Very good
that's-
point.
Does it say use or
So
not?
I think,
I think it,
Substantial
Maybe.
use
I don't know.
yeah, but converting,
is made of a special permit within the time specified by the zoning bylaw, which is not more than 2 years following issuance. And that's regardless of whether or not it was recorded, and this is from, Town Council Jonathan Eichman.
But they did
they did,
complete construction on it.
yeah.
They completed construction, that's
Certainly.
where it's a
But
little
that's-
confusing.
but that's
Even though
that's
construction was
part of the-
completed, was it utilized, granted the special permit, to be occupied as an in-law? So that's
We
where
asked-
I'm a little gray on
We
that
asked
area.
town, I sat with Lisa, we asked and talked to Mike, and we asked town council from that email, if you go back to the beginning, is because the decision was never recorded, is that decision valid, or is it null and void? And it was missing a signature. The signature wasn't an issue, and he said, whatever that paragraph is there, as long as the use commenced, I think that's what it says.
Here's what, may I read it?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
With respect to the example below, per McDermott, section 165-75, the special permit would not have lapsed because substantial use has commenced within 2 years as required. The special permit could not be recorded after 5 years, in my opinion, provided it's certified by the town clerk as required. There is no limitation on when a special permit may be recorded.
So is use someone living there, or is use redoing the whole house?
That's where I am confused.
I feel like,
To be honest with you, she's asking for a whole new special permit, so I don't think it's completely
relevant?
relevant in this case, because we're not modifying.
Well, it
an
is relevant
existing
in this,
permit, except the history, maybe.
and I feel like if this board, didn't worry about 2 dwellings, I'm not saying because they didn't worry about it, we shouldn't, but if they found that it was okay, then maybe it's not something that we should be asking.
Well, I think if we're considering granting something here, it wouldn't hurt to grant a special permit for the additional dwelling on the lot, in addition to the extent that it's required. That's all I'm saying. Not more than one building designed or available for use for residential, recreational business, so on and so forth, as described in the use regulations, shall be erected or placed
Shall be erected.
or converted to such use on any
Okay.
lot in town without special permit from the Board of Appeals. So-
Is that
So
81?
basically, we would, yes.
81, yeah. When was that?
The converted, yeah.
It-
Oh.
And
So-
that doesn't include a barn or a garage, that would be an ancillary
Can't do anything.
accessory structure. This is a building,
So-
it's for a particular use, which in this case is, I'm sorry, kind
That's
of getting a little
okay.
technical here, but we're talking about use for residential.
Right.
Typically, an in-law would be part of an existing structure.
Right.
And part of the requirements for building an in-law generally are to maintain the single-family characteristics of the home. You want it to be part of that house for the very purpose of not establishing, a mini development, so to speak.
Okay.
All right, so this was existing, the structure was existing, and you were given permission.
Yeah.
They granted you a special permit in 2001 to convert a barn, a detached barn or garage or
Pretty
carriage
much.
house, so to speak, to an in-law.
Mhm.
Then we go from there, where you went ahead and completed the construction, never used it for the intended use that
Correct.
you were granted permission to use it for, and at some point used it for a different use, which is rental property.
Yes.
We're notified that you can't do that. which I don't know that you ever did or not, but then more recently you did, and then were notified again to cease and desist.
I did.
So somebody came up, so,
Can I ask a question? And this is
I don't know if that's,
Jeff.
yeah.
So when it says that it's for they need a special permit, is it a special permit for use only, or does it? Because here it says without a special permit from the Board of Appeals. So, is this the special permit, or does it have to specifically
I
say
think
for
the
use?
special permit needs to include at least language to allow more than one building
Okay.
on a lot. That's my opinion.
And I'm
Either
just-
two
I'm
special
asking that
permits
question just so I
or
can
whatever
understand.
special permit she's asking for, which is a multifamily, we would have to.
Include in
I think
that.
it's smart to at least identify this as a separate dwelling on a lot under 165-81.
Okay.
That would be, they never referred to it here, but it's ambiguous.
No.
And we need to consider that in the decision and any conditions that, or not. And there
165.
may be a lot of other concerns here as well.
16581 makes reference to planning board.
Yeah, but they're not the special permit granting authority for the principal use of the property, for major project reviews and so forth.
Is this a major project review?
No.
Okay.
Principal use of the property is residential. They're not the special granting authority for residential use,
Mhm.
and it's not a major project, so.
Mhm. So it's null and void as far as Board of Appeals go. They're not involved in it. I mean,
The previous
planning board.
decision made no reference to any of this, and I
Mhm.
just think it's a bit ambiguous, because we had a decision at one point that was detached, that ran into some snafu from in-law as well, and that,
Yeah,
Remember
that
that?
was bad.
so.
Did we have any correspondence from any of butters?
I don't,
Pardon me?
I don't.
Okay.
And there isn't anyone in the audience that, no? Concerns? Does anybody have any comments or concerns or?
I do not.
I'm not sure if it's relevant. I'm a little confused as to what happened in 2001 after there was notification of the, let's see if I can find it.
That was 2002,
2002,
Steve's letter.
Steve's letter. I guess I'm trying to understand what happened there, but maybe it's not that relevant.
She's right here, ask her.
So I have to find I forgot which.
Oh,
section
the,
it was in. Where Charlie Brett was
Right here.
copied. So I'm just trying to understand the timeline. So in 2002, you're right, there was a letter from Steve Epstein, from the chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals, that it was a incorrect usage. What happened between 2002 and
Well, my
2013?
mother didn't pass away until 2007, and my father did not pass away until 2010. So the property, we just kept it in case, thinking that they would eventually move in.
So in 2002, whomever was there
It
left,
left,
and then it stayed vacant.
for the most part, yeah. I mean, my
Except
kids would
for
sleep in.
family.
Yeah, except for family.
Okay, and then
And then my father and mother and my husband's father and mother
Yeah.
all passed away
okay,
relatively young, actually.
okay,
So,
and then you.
and then my husband came down, not that this, I've been told, doesn't have anything to do with it, but was diagnosed the beginning of last year with an aggressive form of prostate cancer and had to cut back on work. And we needed the extra money, so
I see.
we decided to move forward in that way, and then realized, well, that's probably not the best thing to do. And they vacated, and here I sit.
And I recall, I think I heard you say that you had forgotten about the 2002
It
decision?
just,
Okay, I'm
had-
just trying to
it had
understand the
slipped,
time lapse and
yeah.
why we're, okay, I get it. Those were my questions. Thank you.
Did Charlie Brett ever contact you guys to talk about the ad that was in the paper?
yes.
And what did he say?
Actually, no. I remember there was a conversation you said about, I think we had put a rental sign out front, and he said no signs were allowed.
He never mentioned anything about the fact that you're not allowed to rent it.
I don't remember
As far as
Charlie
enforcing the.
saying that, no.
And we don't have anything.
And I don't think, and originally, I know it didn't, I don't know if this is relevant at all as well, but originally, when we got the first thing, I do not recall, and my husband does not recall, ever being told that we had to register anything with with Salem or some.
File the
Just
decision.
record it.
Oh, I
Record,
understand.
yeah, you gotta record the decision.
Yeah.
I didn't know, we don't recall ever being.
So Patty, we have nothing in the file from Charlie Brett.
In the 2001 file. Don't
Okay.
think so. I think I would have pulled it.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have.
Yeah.
The only reference that we've seen
Just
so
the-
far is the CC
Just
from
his
Epstein.
denial back then from the,
That was probably for a
use
building
requires
permit.
special permit, applicant requires permits
Right,
for in-law
original.
apartment to be installed in the existing outbuilding, 20 by 25. And that was it. Nope. That's it.
Anything else? At this point?
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
Well, I have a couple concerns, or at least things that I'd like to see the board consider if we're gonna granting this. It's a kind of a unique case in where it is two buildings on a lot. I think I would wanna see this most certainly owner occupied in the main dwelling. You don't plan on.
Oh, no.
renting out.
No, they're gonna drag me out feet first.
Um,
I'm
So
not-
if we were to grant something, I think the permit that we would grant would require, in my opinion, we want to consider owner occupancy of the main dwelling.
Yep.
Does that mean if we should ever choose to sell, or my children, after we die, choose to sell, that the main building would have to remain owner occupied of whoever purchased the property? And they would still
I think
be
another
allowed?
condition we need to also impose is that this permit
Lapses.
lapses with change in ownership.
Okay,
Well, that would be, that's just me. So we can, I guess we can move to the sort of the board discussion part of our hearing and kind of talk about the dotting the i's and crossing the t's here. But I think this permit should be limited to the applicant's ownership of the property. I think it should be limited to owner occupancy of the main dwelling. I think we should specify a limited occupancy of the rental unit,
I mean, number of persons.
limited number of people, yeah, whether that's single occupant or limited to one married couple or something. Obviously, this thing cannot handle a family, and it should not be.
yeah, Massachusetts
I
doesn't
I
allow
think,
you.
well, as far as, you know, I'm thinking more about detriment to the neighborhood.
Mhm.
A mother and single child, for example, I don't think, you know, would be acceptable. So I'm not sure how we want, I think we need to talk about how to limit that. You know, vehicular traffic, you have enough, how is the parking laid out here for the,
The parking, it's, I don't know, 250-foot driveway, it's huge.
you have?
This is
See
a
how-
picture of it, and this goes all the way down
Right.
to.
Yeah, so you have room. And that exits onto Pillsbury or on Main Street?
Onto Main, down here.
I
But
forget.
it's right by the driveway to
It's right by the
Pillsbury, isn't it?
intersection, right?
Mhm.
Your driveway exits onto.
Onto Pillsbury,
Yeah, right near
directly.
at the
next-
intersection of.
But it also exits on the other side directly onto East Main.
Hmm.
So you could come in.
Right. So parking is not really an issue. So those are my thoughts. Anybody have any comments?
If we limited the occupancy of the, let's call it the carriage house, are we talking 2 adults? Is that what you're thinking? You said you would be uncomfortable, like with a single parent and a child?
Well, it's a single bedroom anyway, so it's not appropriate for a family of any size, really.
I don't think Massachusetts law allows you to
Probably would not
rent
allow
a
it.
one-bedroom to a child and an adult. I don't think you're allowed to put 2 together, if I'm mistaken.
It certainly
That's
sounds
probably
reasonable.
above my pay grade.
I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's,
Um,
I don't know either,
that's
but,
one of those things I feel a little bit uncomfortable with.
and I don't have a problem saying, listen, it's
5 and
limited,
over.
you could say it's limited to 2 adults, and without getting into too many specifics, too many adults, without referring to what sex they are, they could be different whatever, okay? I'm not ready to go there, even though I already think I already did.
Married couple is a married couple.
That's why I
That's
looked
what
at you, I
the
was like, well, you
state-
kinda already went there.
Well, Jeff was saying a married couple.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, trying to be fair and reasonable about it. I do agree that I think it does make sense in this case that it should be the main house should be owner occupied. And if the house changes hands, whether we put a restriction on that or they just have to come back before the board, whoever that may be at the time, to get, either the permit extended, changed.
I think it should lapse, and because one of my other concerns is sort of the history here, frankly, of perhaps ignoring the decision that was already made, or whether that's just not understanding the law, or choosing to not worry about it unless there's an issue, or whatever the history here is. Clearly, there was a use that was utilized that was not allowed to be utilized, and they've been notified at least twice that that was not acceptable, and at some point, or in multiple points along the way, they did it anyway. Now, I'm not saying that was willful misconduct on your part, I'm just saying that clearly somebody either didn't know, that should have known, that this was not an acceptable use. So, my only concern with this is we're gonna grant this again, we're gonna put a bunch of conditions on here, and how comfortable am I knowing that, okay, here's another decision, this owner has a track record perhaps now that, okay, thank you very much, and are you gonna pay attention to it? So I think, it's pretty clear now that you're sitting here, you understand what's gonna be required, I don't doubt that, and we're gonna make it, that's why I wanna make it very clear in this, that this gets drafted so that it's clear to everybody here and to the owners what's allowed, what's not allowed, and that you abide by it. And if another owner comes in, I would say this thing lapses and they come right back in. Would we accept it, or the next board accept it, deny it? I don't know, but they would have to come in and apply for their own special permit, so that we'd go through this process all over again, so that they wouldn't have the luxury of saying, well, this was something the previous owner had, and I didn't know anything about it. We just saw that it was rental property, and we used it as rental property, because that's what's gonna happen.
Right.
And it's what's gonna happen on every single one of these other in-law apartments where people spent hundreds of thousands of dollars building an in-law, and then something happens to mom or dad, or they move away or do whatever, and they say, geez, I have this nice apartment here, I'd like to rent it out. There's 100 of them in Georgetown, as you pointed before, and this is what's gonna happen every single time, because no one's gonna wanna tear those things down.
Right.
They're perfectly new, usable rental properties that people are gonna, so, not to rant and rave, but that's what's gonna happen. So, I would like to see a condition where this basically lapses. So you're here and you're doing the right thing, and that's great.
That's
And so,
fine.
as long as everyone's comfortable with whatever it is that
Um,
she's asking to do, with whatever restrictions we think are important, I think that's fair and reasonable. But for the sake of a change of ownership, somebody would have to come back in here, I think.
But isn't that the way accessory apartments are anyway?
Yeah,
Change of ownership.
Absolutely, but this
Yeah.
isn't an accessory apartment.
No, I know, but I feel
So
like
you need to
it's sort
clarify.
of, yeah, no.
I think it needs to be clear in this decision.
Mhm.
Because we're granting a special permit for multifamily.
So,
That generally would be,
that carries.
that would generally
Okay.
carry. So I think in this case, we would have to restrict it, similar to an in-law, actually, is what we're really doing.
And that's kind of what my thinking was, because it was originally
But for
granted
the-
as an in-law, so it should sort of follow. I feel like the history of it should stay kind of within the,
She's asking for an exemption as far as the relative occupancy is concerned.
Right.
Rather than that.
But I think originally, in my head, it was originally granted as an in-law, so we should kind of, even though they're renting it now, it should still kind of
Have
keep
some of the
its
same
original,
Right.
like it was granted
criteria.
as an in-law, so
Right.
it should kind of maintain that in-law-ness
Well, regarding,
history.
you know, the permit lapses, if it's sold, you know, we're mandating, it's very similar, except they are gonna be allowed to rent it.
Right.
I'm trying to remember when we discussed this, but maybe it was another town where they actually put that kind of documentation in the deed. Do you need to do that since it's lapsing? No, maybe not. Maybe I'm
That was-
confusing.
You guys can put a deed restriction on it.
Deed
That-
restriction.
We don't
I think we
typically do
decided we
that.
could,
We're
yeah.
not gonna do that, okay.
I
And we'll
mean-
be clear that it's the main house that has
Require
to
it.
be owner occupied. You can't swap, right? So you
Yeah, you
can't-
can't move into the carriage house and then rent out
Rent
the
out
big
the
house
big
to a
house. Yeah.
family of 6. That's
Not
not
gonna
gonna be
happen.
accepted. Well,
It
you never
could.
know.
It could. It could.
You never know. See, all of a sudden you
Sometimes
can
it
get
be
pretty
a
good
very
income.
financially feasible option.
Yeah, it has the carriage house has a spiral staircase. I've already moved downstairs to my
Oh.
bedroom. I'm not climbing spiral staircases.
I'm comfortable with owner occupied lapse, rental to two adults.
You working on a motion, Chris?
Well, like, I just added the conditions. I didn't add the two-adult thing, because I think
yeah,
that's not
that's
our
fine.
jurisdiction. I think it's a mass rental thing.
Okay. Okay.
Just, we have a rental
Whatever we
property
want.
and I've gotta abide, by those rules.
I'm just not familiar with them.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
I would clarify that it's a 1-bedroom then at least.
Ah.
Not to be converted to anything other than a 1-bedroom.
Ah.
Not to be
Yep.
used, not to be used for any, for more than 1 bedroom. Fair enough?
Fair.
Works.
Then that can, Mass state law can apply to that. How's that sound?
Yeah.
That works.
We've had lots of studies and other things converted to bedrooms recently, so.
I realize, but I'm telling you what I'm comfortable with.
Am I getting you more comfortable there?
Yes,
Does that
no,
work?
I think that's the appropriate way to say it, yes.
That's a good idea.
Is there any last chance on audience? Nothing? Want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm
please?
Paul Schilling, I live in Butter,
And your address?
126 East Main Street.
Paul.
My only fear would be that
And you're
if,
speaking as a citizen, not as a board member.
I'm speaking as a citizen, not as a member of the ZBA. I think the worst thing that could happen in this situation is they do not get a permit and that dwelling goes unused or changes its appearance. It's a nice little building. And I would hope that the applicant, if this application is granted, will maintain that nice sort of architecture that is there. The two buildings go well together, and you certainly cannot afford to add a whole lot of extra cars. There seems to be enough parking there as it is. So I think it would be a detriment if they did not get the permit, only because I fear what would happen with that building. It could be turned into a garage or something, which I would prefer didn't happen. So I think the alternatives are worse than them being able to rent that property. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Schilling.
How about no further modifications to the carriage house or accessory building without permission from the board?
Absolutely.
Okay? Good point. That means structural, anything.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and since it's, you're getting sort of special permission to use it, then you can't make any changes to it unless they come back before the board.
Mhm.
Sound reasonable?
It does.
Sounds good.
Without coming back to board or without coming back for a special permit?
Without,
Well, I have to go to the building inspector.
well, true, but I want him to send them over here, without review by the zoning board of appeals. He would pull that decision, the first thing you'd see was that it gets kicked back to us.
Okay.
If you look at the size of that, the second floor, I mean, Wouldn't be too
Yeah,
difficult.
no, but-
Wouldn't be too difficult to
You know,
convert that to
people-
2 bedrooms.
All of a sudden you add on to one side, or you never know, who knows, I don't.
Do
You get
we
the
wanna
one-bedroom
add,
thing?
yes, do we wanna add the bylaw of the 2 dwellings?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's why I started with all this. Bear with us for a minute while we
Grant a
kinda
special permit
work through
for
it.
this, as well as 2 dwellings on one property per section 16581.
Oh, that's a variance.
No. 16581?
More than one building on a lot is a variance.
Oh.
So it's
Special
special
permit.
permit right in here,
Oh, okay. We didn't get,
16581.
Mm-hmm.
it was amended. Used to be a variance.
Oh, it was,
It was.
91.
You're good, Patty.
2011.
I thought it was too, actually, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
It always was. And the planning board was added to the end of that paragraph.
Who wrote that, Nick?
Next crack condition.
How about, I would say remove that the board shall, an additional special permit because.
Could be just a condition.
No.
Is it do you remember you talked about when we just decide something? Is that just a decision? We've made a decision. You know how?
Sorry, I just got a train of thought.
Oh,
That's all right, no, hang on.
I don't wanna ruin it. What's your knee?
It's getting better. So it'll take a while. It's a long time.
It'll be right in here.
It's freezing in here.
It's pretty cold. I'm not that cold.
Right in here. Say I further move. This Sorry, Patty, we're just kinda.
Oh, take my time. Take your time. Take my time.
Allowing for
2 dwellings. Is there a thermostat in here?
allowing from other. What's going on? Sorry. It's gonna go again. There we go.
So 2 dwellings on one lot?
Building. Yeah, hang on. It's building, but. It's circular, it's terrible. Shelter of persons, more than one building on a lot. Okay.
With the following
With the
conditions.
following conditions. So if you wanna take your time and review that, kind of read through the whole thing, if that makes sense.
So do I do the conditions before the desirable to public welfare and all that hoo-ha? Do I do that?
You know, it doesn't matter, either
Okay.
way.
All right, I think,
You can take your time and read through it, you don't mind if she gets it right the first time, right? I guess we do have, only 4 members here, so I think it's worth, going once around to see how everybody feels on this, because if this, is not unanimous, then, it will be denied, so I wanna make sure that, everybody is heard before we come to a vote, and you haven't made a motion yet, but.
4-bedroom house. Instead of calling it dwelling, call it the main 4-bedroom house.
Mhm.
That way there's no confusion of the what is the main one.
Do you have any further concerns, or?
I don't.
Comfortable
I
given the
think
conditions? or-
they've satisfied my concerns.
Um,
Me too, I'm fine.
And you?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I think given the conditions, and you're very clear now on what you can do and what you can't do, so, I think it's important that everything gets clarified and gets filed correctly, and then you can know exactly what needs to be done.
Okay. Stop me if something sounds screwy.
So the condition, sorry, you didn't even start yet, and I stopped you. Could you just run through the conditions one more time before we read the whole motion, and we can just see how we feel about that?
Okay, owner occupancy of the main 4-bedroom home is required. The special permit lapses with change of ownership. The carriage house is to be used as a 1-bedroom dwelling only. No further modifications are allowed to the carriage house without review by the zoning board of appeals.
That covers the 2 dwelling issues.
I'm sorry, did you mention that permit lapses if ownership's transferred?
That was the first one.
Is
Nope.
it lapses or expires, Patty?
Null and void. Permit is null and void.
The special permit is null and void.
Well, it,
That's
yeah,
what I thought, but
yeah. Shall
It's
be
all the same.
null and void. And the,
With
let's say
change
the
of
transfers,
Yeah, with any transfer of ownership.
any transfer, the property is sold or transferred, the special permit shall be null and void.
There you
That's
go.
right out of accessory apartments. It's D, I think.
Can I say it the other way? The special permit shall be null and void with any transfer or sale of or sale
yes, you can.
Transfer of ownership.
Transfer of ownership. yeah,
of
or sale.
ownership at the end of that?
Transfer of ownership or sale. Okay.
Transfer of ownership or sale.
Mhm.
Did we talk about 1 bedroom?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And the 2 dwelling part's taken care of.
It's
the
up
way
here.
written. Okay, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Specify the carriage house 1 bedroom?
Yes.
I'm gonna give this to you.
Oh, goody, okay.
You can read my chicken scratch. I'd like to make a motion to grant a special permit to Yusuf Ben and Lisa Basoud of 144 East Main Street, map 10, lot 1, Georgetown, Mass, to convert a single-family dwelling and carriage house. Do I put that has a previous, or do I leave that
Yep.
out?
Just read the whole thing.
That has a previous zoning decision, ZBA file number 0101, that allowed an accessory apartment to a multifamily, 2-family dwelling under MGL Chapter 40A, Section 9, and the Georgetown zoning bylaws, Chapter 165, Sections 9, 74 through 79. I further move the board grant the special permit is in accordance with Chapter 165-81, allowing for more than 1 building on a lot. I motion that these are with the following conditions, sorry, going all over the place.
Okay.
The owner occupancy of the main 4-bedroom house is required. The special permit shall be null and void with any transfer of ownership or sale. The carriage house is to be used as a 1-bedroom dwelling only. No further modifications are allowed to the carriage house without review by the zoning board of appeals. I further move that the board find that the special permit application meets zoning bylaw 165-79 A through D, being the requested use and alteration is essential or desirable to the public convenience and welfare, will not overload any public water or other municipal system so as to unduly subject any area to hazards affecting health, safety, or general welfare, will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining districts, and will not cause an excess of that particular use which could be detrimental to the character of the neighborhood.
Second.
Second. Good. Okay. Any just further discussion on this? Is that clear? to
Yes.
you? Acceptable?
Very clear and acceptable.
We'll just go ahead and do a roll call vote. This doesn't need to be unanimous. Sharon, how do you vote?
Yes.
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 And I vote yes. So, 4 yeses, and your special permit is granted. So, I need to advise you that there's a 20-day appeal period. Following 14 days, the clerk has to file a written decision with the town clerk. A person who exercises rights under an appealed special permit or variance does so at risk. So you need to wait 14 days for her to file the decision, and then there's a 20-day appeal period after that before you can exercise your rights under the special permit, okay? And with that, I will hear a motion to close the meeting.
Second.
Dave, second by Sharon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none, motion carries, and your hearing is closed. Thank you.
Do I have to file this somewhere?
Okay, this is what we're gonna do this time. This time,
You have to record it.
I'm gonna write the decision, they'll sign it within 14 days,
Sharon?
and then I'll give you a call,
Okay.
and you can come in and, or I can mail it to you, the registry instructions to go to the registry of deeds in Salem and record it.
Now,
And there's a 20-day appeal period, like you said, a 20-day appeal period, so when I give you the registry instructions, you're gonna wait, I'm gonna put a date on there. That'll be on or after that date, you can go